before getting Me Too'd. And after.
You know what? I talk to your mayor.
Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Hey there to all you wonderful people today. Wow, it was an interesting one too. I mean, we started out with Doctor disproves everything that Amber Heard has to say. We get a nurse that follows all of that up, and then Sean Bett takes the stand. Now, Sean Bett, bodyguard for JD, somebody that was right there in the thick of it, knew exactly what was going on. What does he have to say? She was a monster. There are so many of the she were monsters. Oh, let me catch the member here. Heather Painter, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for that membership, and welcome to Tugs Thugs. Appreciate you there. Kelly Jensen, too. Thanks for the 10. Tug, don't you think Eve Barlow is still watching the trial and live texting to AH's attorney with her BS? Oh, definitely. Definitely. You know that Eve Barlow is sitting right in the midst of it. She's keeping tabs on everybody. But you know what has to eat her alive? That she can't be there and influence it directly. This was her moment to shine in the sun. She thought, man, I'm going to own those people. And you know what? She ended up burning herself, which was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Oh, I had such a good laugh out of that, too. I had such a good laugh out of that. I loved it. Oh, got some more members. Thank you, folks. Yeah, keep those memberships rolling. I love them. 2012. Thanks for the 2 there. Llama Gigante was at the trial. Yes, alpaca. Did you see the alpaca today, by the way? I don't know if everybody understands that, but did you see that? That was hilarious. Let me explain that to you before we get into everything. So today, outside, this Law and Crime interviewed the people too, but Law and Crime would strike us if we actually showed their thing. So we'll show you the picture, and I'll explain what the alpaca is about, because I thought that was pretty entertaining, just to be honest. So somebody brought themselves an alpaca today. Check that out. Actually, 2 alpacas today, which I thought was kind of cool, you know. Oh, Snuggle wants a refund. Thanks for the 2. Amber's really Justin Trudeau and Amica. That's hilarious. Simply Bell, welcome. Thank you. And thank you for that membership, too. Welcome to Tugs Thugs. Also, Danny JM, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for that membership too. And welcome to Thugs. Love all of you. Love you all, I have to say. It's been such an interesting day. But look at this. Check this out. So you have two alpacas. If you don't understand what the alpaca thing is all about, it's this statement right here. So JD was asked in 2020 what he thought about Disney, going back to Disney. And he said, right now, based on everything, if they came to me with $300 million and a million alpacas, nothing on this earth, nothing under this earth, on this earth, would get me to go back to work with Disney on Pirates of the Caribbean film. So the statement was just a shout out to that. You saw alpacas trending for days. It was kind of hilarious, and now you get to see that. JD has some funny text, too, I have to say. Deborah Briscoe, welcome. Thank you, too. Welcome. Thank you for that membership for 8 months there. And the Tuggernauts, too. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Did I miss much? You haven't missed much of the stream. We just got going. So you're right on time. You're right on time. So I want to show you 2 tweets from JD that I thought were really funny. He said some pretty funny things today. I mean, some pretty funny ones. Hey, Cincy, you show? Welcome. Thank you. And thank you for that membership, too. And welcome to Thugs. Nancy Hickman, too. Welcome. Membership, 20 months. That's awesome. Love the trial coverage. Well, thank you for that. I've loved the trial, covering it. I mean, you've had some funny things. JD, he keeps talking about things like he'll ask his nurse for some knockout yum-yums, which I think that's funny. Like, he messages his nurse, and he'll be like, yo, can you give me some knockout yum-yums? But he texted this. I thought this was really funny. I'm going to pull this up here. These are his words, too. He's talking to his nurse, okay? And somebody, I saw a few people saying maybe they had something together. No, it's just how he texts everybody if you look at his stuff. But, look at... Am I going to stream it solo tomorrow? I don't know yet. I'm thinking about streaming tomorrow. I thought about it. I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I'll post that, and I'll post it in my community tab. But I'm considering it. I don't know. I don't know. I like streaming. I don't know. I'll think about it. But anyway, this is the message that he sent to the nurse. Now read part of it. I like the middle down there. It says, even attempting saying thank you to you would be like a monkey trying to F a football. It's just simply impossible. Even attempting saying thank you to you would be like a monkey trying to F a football. Oh, his texts are like this all the time. Look, there's some more of them over here too. Let me give you another one. God, I kept reading through them today. I was like, these are hilarious. There was another one, and I didn't have a chance to catch it when it was live because it went by. This stuff's hard to catch and tweet while you're going through there. But this is another one of his. These are his statements, okay? So they're colorful, let's say. But here's another one. He was talking to his nurse, and he texted this. If you like, you can give me some morphine to see if my tongue and penis touch. All my love, Jay. That was his text too. He had some pretty colorful, funny texts. Some of his texts, I was like, these are hilarious. And you know what you see throughout the trial? You see everybody agreeing they liked him. That's the one thing that you find. Okay, a lot of people who haven't kept up with this trial long enough, they may not know that Amber Heard's side hired a private investigator to dig into JD's life all the way through it. And you know what they found? They found everyone that they interviewed. They couldn't find anybody to come back and say, yeah, this guy, he's some kind of monster. That's what they wanted, mind you. They were working for that, but they could not find anyone that would come back and say it. Now, out of this, here's somebody I've been talking about. You want to hear something kind of interesting that I've been exploring all day long. You want to hear a little bit of this skinny that I've been trying to find out because I know something's going to come up. It's kind of a little dish behind the scenes. You want to know about that? Right, thanks for the 5. What are the odds on AH blaming blaming Eve Barlow for her loss and giving her the old, the old beating? Maybe maybe. You know, are you saying like, will Eve Barlow get the old the flusheroo? Maybe. Because EB suing AH. That would be funny, actually, if they ended up going that way. Lawsuit together. Start Teller, thanks for the 5. Are you going to talk about her 2 black eyes didn't turn her eyeballs red with blood? Well, they didn't do anything at all. Like, that's the crazy. Okay, so listen to this. All right, this is a little bit of dish. All right, a little bit of magical dish. So I don't know if you folks have heard of Tracy Jacobs. She's going to come up a lot in this trial. She's going to be one of really the few people that has something negative to say about JD. Now, the reason that she is going to do that, she was his agent, and she believes that she pretty much owns the man. All right. She, if you read through her prior statements in another, Amber Heard didn't run across her until maybe 7 months ago. She had no idea that this person existed, but they were desperate. Like, I cataloged this as it moved forward in real time. And about 7 months ago, they run across this lady. I mean, like I said, they'd never heard of her. I'd never heard of her either, but that was his agent that had been getting him work since Nightmare on Elm Street. All right. So that person, by the way, they had been doing a lot of weird stuff. Like, they get 10%, for example, right? They get 10% of everything that he makes. And they felt that they made him, like they built his career. So they were getting lavish gifts. They admit in their depositions that they would ask for, like they would tell him what they wanted. Could you imagine this? Could you imagine someone saying, yeah, my birthday's coming up. I'd like that Rolex watch right there. It's about $20,000. Get it for me. That's what she did, though. She would ask for $5,000 to $20,000 gifts regularly as part of what she did. Well, anyway, so I found out the company that she worked for. Here's a little bit of bonus thing that I never heard of, that I had to talk to somebody about to find out. I found out that the company that she was with, UTA, they had a mass exodus of clients, like a huge problem back when, like just a monster one. Everybody was dumping them and leaving them. But you know who didn't leave them? Johnny Depp. He stuck with them. So Johnny Depp and Owen Wilson sticking with them actually kept that company from going out of business. They went to bat for UTA. They went to bat for Tracy Jacobs because they felt, Johnny Depp felt he owed her something because, again, you know, he had been with her for so long. Well, the reason he did that too, he felt they were at it was a time of need, and because of that, because he stayed there, not only for the company benefit, but Tracy Jacobs herself. She was given accolade. She was given monetary bump, huge monetary bump for that. And she was given a title for it as well. Now, the reason that JD ends up breaking off from them, from what I understand, we've heard about, of course, the lawsuit with the money thing. You know, you had the embezzlement of $650 million, and JD cleans house. You know, he just goes through and he cleans out everybody because he felt like there was a lot of backroom effery going on. You know, he didn't feel like his money or his considerations were being looked after. Well, another reason that he got rid of them is because he couldn't get help with what he wanted with his company. Like his agent, he was asking for certain things. One of the people that was a good friend of his, Doug Stanhope, who actually was brought up when the trial. He's down there at the trial right now. He's always been a good friend of JD. Well, apparently he wanted Doug Stanhope to get help too, and Tracy Jacobs refused. So, with all of that, all of the ego, the snideness, and then all the money problems, he ended up cutting her loose, and that's why Tracy Jacobs is so butthurt behind the scenes and wants to burn him down. And she's going to be she's going to be one of the witnesses. Now, again, I was contacting multiple people trying to find out stuff about it, and today I actually had that pay off because I didn't know a lot about Tracy Jacobs. It's one, again, it's going to be a big witness that comes up and comes up relatively soon. I mean, it's somebody that, again, is going to be weaponized big time against JD. And it's just amazing, considering they had to reach back into the past, all the way back to an agent that he dumped for something else. Somebody, again, it's funny too, because they casually dismiss Kate James. Kate James that we heard about, whom Amber Heard supposedly stole her, I'm going to say abuse story. Yeah, that person, they dismiss casually. They dismiss just ugly almost. And then you find out that on the other side of that, if a person can't be believed because they had some kind of tie up there, well, isn't it fascinating that they're depending on, again, Jacobs? Man, these streams drive me crazy. So, every time I have a stream, this is like every single time I have a stream. Did you know YouTube will demonetize it? Which means it throttles it. That's why, it goes out to about 1,600 people. But when it goes live, it just kills the thing. So it doesn't put it out there into easy search terms. Freaking, this platform loves Amber Heard. I'm telling you. It loves Amber Heard. I think it's because of all that Amica cream, personally. Did you know about Amica cream, by the way? If I haven't told you the gospel of Amica cream, let me tell you. So once upon a time, I knew about this burn victim. He was minding his own business, just hanging out, and some people, he had a really rough time, court case, just hanging out at home afterwards, winning, and you know what? Somebody burned his house down. Now, he could have gone the bad way. He could have gone the dream demon way. But you know what? Amber Heard stepped in and said, you know what? There's a cream for that. She prevented the dream demons. She saved the Elm Street kids. It was amazing. There was also a thing. So I heard this story. There was a little shark you may have heard of. Now, this little shark, it had a problem. It had a toothache, and it really, really made it mad. Amber Heard, she swam out because, Mira, she swam out into the sea. She found that shark, and she was like, hey, before you go to Amity and you start eating everybody, let me put a little Amica cream on your teeth. Boom. Good stuff, too. Prevented that, and, just for help out, this guy right here, yeah. Put a little bit on him, too. He was good to go. I don't know how he got hurt by the story, but hey, who cares? Then I hear that Amber Heard, she decided she would do a little bit of she'd go to the Renaissance Festival. When she went to the Renaissance Festival, there were these 2 nights throwing down, and there was a terrible accident. This is an actual picture from that Renaissance Festival. Terrible scene. Terrible. The knight lost his legs, lost his arms. But you know what? Amber Heard just walked right up there. She was like, there's a cream for that. Sprayed that on there. Boom. Guy's fixed. True story. True story. That should be in your next book. Poor Freddie. By the way, if anybody wants to use this to meme it or anything, there is I've got the transparency for the guy here. So if you want to make fun of it, I'll have fun with it. By the way, I did make we did make a shirt off of it. We've sold a few. It's kind of funny. Let me show you these real fast. Like I said, there's all kinds of, there's some guilty shirts too, but we have the Amica cream ones, and I think they're funny. I'm going to show them to you real fast. I'm going to show them to you if the freaking browser ever works. Teespring's like, you know what? I'm not going to work. I'm waiting for Amber Heard to pop in and say, your browser's not working. Well, there's a cream for that. I love this especially. Like I said, I even left the text across there because these people are so dumb. Again, if you don't know the joke, Amica cream, it's arnica cream. I've never heard of it. I don't know anything about it. But they spent days talking about the joys of Amica cream. So I thought it'd be funny to leave the I love Amica cream. Oh, what a bunch of idiots. I'm going to pin that into the commentary. If you want to back it too, let me say this. Yeah, that's what James Franco was bringing over that night. He was bringing over some Amica cream. How much damage can Tracy Jacobs do? It really depends on the jury. Like any of these people, what can they do? Well, it depends on how convincing they are, Like anybody has the potential to be damaging, but is she believable? Now, here's another thing that I need to explain. Thank you, babe. That's fine. Oh, you're running off? You don't want to say hi? You don't want to say hi? Come on, say hi. Say hi. Hey there. You don't want to hey there or nothing? All right. My wife came in for a minute. She just ran off, though. So here's something that people I don't think understood. Like it's something that I'm gonna say this is my fault, another fault, the fault of other people who have covered this as well. A lot of people, like Yellow Flash, for example, was asking about why the heck, like the doctor here, who we're going to talk about, why the heck, when he was being asked questions, why did they seem so Amber Heard centric? Well, that's because when you do the when you do your video depositions, the defense, they actually go first. So what you hear at the beginning, like on day 3 when it started out, was him talking about Amber Heard's side of things. They were asking the questions you expect on cross. Because what you're hearing basically is cross first, then you're hearing the witness discuss whatever for Johnny Depp, and then you hear rebuttal. So it's really confusing, when you go through that. But today, he got to the doctor side of things. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to play the Sean Bett stuff, but I'm going to catch you up on what went on with the doctor and the nurse. I'm going to go throughout the trial. If you haven't noticed this, like on Twitter, say you're away, you can't keep up with it, say you're at work or something, I try to do this throughout the day. I think it helps somewhat. So I take screenshots and again, try to give you the items that are coming up. Sometimes they're just rapid fire. Like Sean Bett, oh my God, the stuff he was bringing up was so rapid fire. I couldn't keep up with him because he had so much to say that was actually useful. And all he did was testify on the Depp side of things today. But other times, like the doctor here, there are long periods of, oh my God, is he going to keep going? Combined with some very interesting stuff. Now, the buy-in for this, though, the really annoying part, I would say, is the fact that you have to think that JD, because he wants to clear his name, every private medical record that he has ever had has been front and center. The world gets to see what was going on. They get to see the private demons that he was fighting. And his diagnosis was discussed. Now, his diagnosis, there were people that were asking about that. They heard that he had a substance abuse disorder. Well, here's the thing. I work in mental health, so I'm going to tell you how this works, because this substance abuse counseling falls into the mental health realm, by the way. Even if you have an MD or a psychiatrist or whatever doing that, it still falls into the mental health realm, no matter who's covering it. The way that billing works, you cannot lead with a substance abuse diagnosis. So if you'll look at any of his papers, you notice if it's a note and they're making notes of it, it may note the substance abuse issues first. But when you look at the intakes and whatnot, they noted something else. Like it would note ADHD, bipolar, anxiety, or whatever. And then it would note that, because it's not allowed to be the prominent thing unless they don't take insurance. If they take insurance as coverage, then it's different. Interesting is that this guy, he's on call all the time. He gets paid $100,000 a month, and he still uses insurance. He still bills for his hours through insurance. It's amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it. I wish I had that. And if you're wondering how much a Beverly Hills nurse makes, by the way, apparently he wasn't only the doctor to JD, he was also the doctor to Amber Heard, and on top of that, he was the doctor for the nurse and everyone else. 2012, thanks for the 2. We also see AH caused it 2. Crazy was it AF. Hey, what's up, Leslie? Thanks for the 7-month membership. Please catch me up. Was at the doctor all day? Okay, well, we just got here. So we started out with the doctor. Again, this was JD's side with the doctor. We're going to have the doctor. He starts out again with diagnosis. So he's the buy-in today was talking about the diagnoses. Now, throughout it, they also bring up his notes. Like you can see, I'm going to blow this one up. You can go back through if you want to read the entirety of the notes. Like some of them are interesting, especially as a practitioner. But the real interesting notes, if you want to read any notes, were the nurse's notes. The nurse's notes had more to say about Amber Heard, and they had more to say about her causing fights and her being, the nurse told us stories that back up other stories we've heard about Amber Heard being the aggressor, JD trying to flee to other rooms, and she following him to continue fights. But Dr. Kipper, he talked about, now remember, he was the doctor he's a private on-call doctor for Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Substance abuse, but he's also providing doctor care as well. During all the time that was out there, he saw no injuries on Amber Heard. So this is the private doctor. Now, again, they try to impeach his testimony by going after his credibility, saying, oh, he's for sale. But you know what? He didn't put any of that in notes. Like there's the thing. Like if she was actually being injured, there would be something in the notation. Hey, Warrior B, thank you for that. Appreciate that. You grew a new leg, Abel, with Amica cream. But he saw no injuries. He was asked things like, did you ever witness JD abuse either? All of them were asked. Nurses. So far, well, we've had one nurse, and we've had, oh man, let me move a little bit. We've had one nurse, and we've had Dr. Kipper. They were asked, did you ever see that abuse? Any physical evidence? No, not ever. Never saw that. And like I said, you have to remember, a lot of people think of Dr. Kipper and they think this was JD's doctor. No, this was their doctor on call, and he did not log any physical issues. He was the doctor that was there for Australia, for example. They were talking about today hunting down JD's chopped off finger. Like I thought that it was so casually. It was so casually discussed. You have the nurse talking about going downstairs looking for his chopped off finger, and you have the doctor saying, he looked for it and they found it. Actually, a guy named Ben King found it. Ben King has not been introduced. I don't remember if he was in the depots or not, but that's the guy who was cleanup. Basically, he would clean up scenes. He would, come in, and he was the guy who introduced the idea that Amber Heard had a very prolific drinking habit. He said that she had, before Australia, 1 to 2 bottles of wine a day. That was before Australia, so it was way before, because he would clean it up every day, and he would clean up her wine. So that habit, it grew. Now, why does that matter, by the way? Because their entire defense is built on the idea that substance abuse equals domestic abuse. They keep going back to it. In fact, that's what they wanted from Dr. Kipper. He was a substance abuser. But Amber Heard is a substance abuser, too. So, It's It's just kind of interesting. We had photos put in by Sean Bett today, too. Abuse photos. But during Australia, okay, so in Australia, Amber Heard, if you've never heard the Amber Heard story from Australia, I mean, it is a telling one. You're talking about a woman that says that she calls it a 3-day hostage ordeal. Okay, I mean, that's her descriptor for Australia. A 3-day hostage ordeal, in which she talks about being drugged through glass. She talks about being choked. She talks now with the new addition to it. I'm loading this site, so give me 1 second. God, this site's slow. She also in this trial, she talked about being violated with a bottle. Yeah, I was going to pull up the statement itself, but the site that I'm trying to pull it up from is so slow right now. I actually wanted to read it over to you. But I mean, she basically goes, she says that he broke a ping pong table by throwing her into it. He drug her through glass. I mean, it's insane. The story is just absolutely crazy. And what the doctor tells you from that story is she didn't require any medical attention. Now, you know who did acquire medical attention, though? Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp required it. So this is what she said. Here, I'm actually going to bring this up on the screen, okay? Because this is her story from Australia. If you've never heard it, it's actually... I want you to really drink this in, thinking that she didn't acquire any injury from this, okay? That night, Johnny shoved me into a ping pong. Again, this is not going to have the violation with the bottle, because that's new. That's been in nothing before, okay? So this is the last time it was put out there. Last night, Johnny shoved me into a ping pong table that collapsed underneath me. Johnny threw bottles through the window panels of a glass door, breaking 2 panes, leaving glass everywhere. Johnny then grabbed me, gripping my body and nightgown. He tore the nightgown off, and at some point, I was naked and barefoot, covered in alcohol and glass. Johnny grabbed me by the hair and choked me against the fridge in the kitchen. I tried to stand up, but I was sliding around the glass-strewn floor and countertop. Johnny threw me away from him. I tried to run as Johnny continued to throw objects and alcohol at me. In one of the most horrific and scary moments of the 3-day ordeal, Johnny grabbed me by the neck and collarbone, slammed me into the countertop. I struggled to stand up as he strangled me, but my arms and feet kept slipping and sliding onto the spilled alcohol and were dragged against the broken glass and the countertop and floor, which repeatedly slashed my feet and arms. Scared for my life, I told Johnny, "You're hurting me and cutting me." Johnny ignored me, continuing to hit me in the back with one closed hand, slamming a hard plastic phone against the wall with the other until he smashed into the smithereens. When he smashed the phone, this is her account of how he lost his finger. He severed his finger, cutting the tip off. So you hear her ordeal tale. All right, now, in what world does that not require medical attention? I mean, can you tell me how in the world you would not have any type of medical ailment from that whatsoever? But as Dr. Kipper said, now she did do one thing. She did leave Australia in a hurry, but it wasn't to get some of that better medical attention in the States. No. That was to get the hell out of Dodge, because she might get blamed. Now, one thing that's really caused JD some problems in that is that he covered for her, he says. You know, he didn't want her getting in trouble. He didn't want her going to jail. So he made sure that he covered for her. He covered story. Now, the dates here. Now, there's another day. I'm sure you've heard about this day, too. This is the day that she's going to end up going, well, this is 2 days, the 17th. This is 2 days before she ends up going on the James Corden show. I'm sure you've heard about that by now. Her testimony from it, she says that she had a broken nose. She had 2 black eyes. She had a busted lip. She had a man sit on her back with her knee in her back to the point that it broke a bed because he was bracing with his foot. She says all of that transpired, and yet the doctor that's attached to them, the nurse, it's part of it, he gets a call. So she's seen on the 17th. That would be 2 days after that ordeal. Remember, too, we have footage of what happened with the James Corden show as well. I mean, we do have footage of that, too. Let me actually, sorry. I should have blown that all the way up. My bad. Sorry about that. But she didn't need a doctor appointment. In fact, the doctor's notes here, I mean, they're going to be hard to see there. She went in, she said she had a headache because she had like hit her head or fallen against something. So when she was seen, the nurse on that day reported that there were no injuries. So she had nothing that was noticeable. So again, she was seen by a doctor, which is something that was kind of interesting to find out. She's seen by a doctor in Australia. They're real time. The guy who found his finger, who was there in the moment, you know. So, I mean, they're there. They take him to the hospital. They do all of that. That doctor doesn't see any signs of anything on her. And then the nurse that sees her after all of this supposed insanity doesn't log any injuries whatsoever. Doesn't see a broken nose, busted lip, 2 black eyes or more. Here's another thing that came to me today. I want to rewind just a little bit. So a few days ago, we heard from a therapist, right? And this therapist said at the end of it that she saw a bruise on Amber Heard and she saw a picture, right? And she said because of reports from Amber Heard that she felt that they came from Johnny Depp, right? Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's a big problem with that therapist. You have a duty to warn as a therapist. You have a duty to warn if there is elder abuse, if there is child abuse, or if you see injuries. If you bear witness to injuries, you are supposed to report them. It is your duty to report those. You can get in big trouble otherwise. Well, she didn't report them. She didn't make any type of report, and she didn't put them in notes. So she says that she sees something that, again, would be a violation that would actually possibly cost her licensure. And I thought that was kind of fascinating. In the aftermath, she says that she saw something no one else did. I saw a bruise. I saw a picture. Well, really, you didn't report that. And like I said, it's not a thing where if you think there's abuse going on and you see injuries, again, you have to report that. It's part of it. You have to report children. You have to report elderly if you think there's abuse. And if you see injuries, you have to report it, period. That's why a lot of times when you have abuse victims, they either will not make any kind of sessions. They'll lie about where it comes from, or they'll try to cover it up very well. You know, if they're trying to cover up for somebody, is what I mean. Amber Heard went there to the therapist saying, "I've got these injuries. This, that, and the other happened to me." By the way. Which, like I said, I thought was fascinating. The doctor, like I said, he kind of train wrecks her. I mean, you think about this. That may not seem like a big deal when I say it the way I did. And the way that it was presented to the jury, you've got a tape. It doesn't really seem like some profound, But what you have here is a doctor stepping in and saying, she's a liar. She lied because what she said there, it didn't happen. We didn't just not see it. We didn't log it. And we have a duty to report, and we didn't report it. Gloria, thanks for the 5 there and the super sticker. Appreciate that. That Amica is amazing, isn't it? So then you have Debbie Lloyd. Now, Debbie Lloyd is JD's nurse, and she's the supervisor. Let me make this clear. You have another nurse that is Amber Heard's direct nurse, but she's the supervisor of Amber Heard's nurse, all right? Now, one thing we find out right off the bat, which I thought was interesting, they were talking about JD, and they were talking about what kind of person he is. You know, their character building. One of the things they talked about was him giving gifts. And apparently he even gave gifts to nurses, like nice things. He gave her like a really ornate jewelry box. He gave her a really ornate notepad. Like he'd like to give away things. So you got JD giving gifts to everyone and Amber Heard giving them a hard time. Huh. Fascinating, huh? Hey, Shabaka Wookie, thanks for the 7 there. Appreciate that. Last week I made jokes about faking a black eye with concealer. Thursday, today, looks like Turd took my challenge with her bad contour job. Oh, I kill me. Amica. Amica. Amica indeed. So, Debbie Lloyd, also, if you look at these notes, Debbie Lloyd is bringing up JD's private me. Again, what really bothers me about this trial, like this is an aspect that truly bothers me. If you go into counseling, substance abuse, counseling, or you go into mental health or even medical, you're supposed to be protected. Well, you know what? As far as this case went, they pulled out everything. They pulled out all the stops. In fact, Amber Heard's team wanted to go as far as to get every medical record from 2013 to March of 2022. Like, no crap. They wanted it all the way up to the discovery date, the end of discovery. So they wanted to pull records beyond, like years beyond their relationship. And this is why, because it puts them in front of people, and it's embarrassing. You know, this man, he has a private island, and he's going to escape on his private island. And the reason that he's doing it, he says, now again, I know he has substance issues, but he says when he's trying to quit, he keeps relapsing because his wife causes him distress. Like, that's what he's reporting to his nurse here. So Johnny Depp notes dealing with emotional trauma. That's what causes him to continue drug use. Like, when he starts with drugs, he notes emotional trauma, addiction, like pills started by a tooth surgery. I mean, those pills are magical, too. Percocet, wait, they're something. They're addictive, highly addictive. And, some people give them to you like candy. Like back in the day, I tell you, to give you an idea, like I had a pain in my side that I couldn't get rid of. And years later, I had this pain forever. It was unbearable. Finally, in 2 months, I had my gallbladder and my appendix removed and went away. So it had something to do with one or the other. I don't know, because they both happened so close together. But I had a doctor that would give me Percocet, and this doctor, they would give me, at first they started at 60, then they gave me in a month 120, instead of fixing the problem. And then as I became addicted, very addicted, then they would give me 120 in 15 days, and so on. They just give them out to you like candy. And it's when the supply's never ending, how the fuck are you not going to get addicted? Yeah, you don't feel the pain anymore. You don't feel anything. And after a while, you have some real problems, It's You have more problem than you had before, and it never fixes the issue. So with him and his access, just me being like a nobody out here, I have access like that. You can imagine what that man has access to. The access never stops, I'm sure. I'm sure that he has everything that he could ever want. But Amber Heard's team tries to discredit the doctors by saying, basically, they were supplying him with boxes of pills. Now, you do have those sorter boxes, but the way that they were throwing it out there, it sounded bad. He gets boxes of pills. Hey, Kelly Jensen, thanks for the 10. Please don't leave Ricada. He needs your knowledge, especially if JD is really testifying tomorrow. Nick is how I found you. I don't know yet. I don't do good with law too. Like, I had a lot of trouble speaking today, and I don't want to be rude about that or anything, because I love Nick, and I liked everybody on there, but man, I have trouble with the panel like that, so I may just stream. You know what I mean? Because it's you gotta, and that's not an indictment of anybody. You got like people like me. Listen, I'm going to talk for 2 hours straight. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk, and I'm not going to stop. Okay, I'm a talker. I like to talk. You have other talkers, and when you put all the talkers together, it becomes a mess. And I don't know. I just haven't decided yet. Because like some of it I don't want to talk on, but some of it, again, I'm not a lawyer either. When we get into lawyer conversations, they're not for me. I just, I know the case itself. And again, I love it. I don't mean anything negative about that. I just, just when it comes up, I'm like, you got an army of people. That's usually why I stream by myself. That way, I talk to the people that show up. Hey, what's up? Mad Scientist 7. Welcome. Thank you, too. And welcome, and thank you for that membership. And welcome to Tugs. Hey, thanks for the 2 there, too. AH is mental gymnastics makes lies equal real memories, I do find on Flashcast, though. Yeah, but you see, Flashcast's different. Like, everybody gets drunk and just yells at each other. It's different. It's a shit show. That's all you do. That's like a different thing, Stream sniping. Nah, I wouldn't do that. Again, maybe I'll change my mind at the end of the day. I don't know. Like I said, I just, I like to talk. Again, that's no negative about anybody there. I mean, Nick, I consider him a friend online. That's why I would stream with him at all. But typically, I just don't stream with many people. Now, JD would text his nurse, and when he would text her, he would say that Heard was having a nasty freak out. He used words like that quite a bit. She's having a nasty freak out, and I can't deal with it. I need some of that knockout yum-yum, he would call it. He would talk about them yum-yum pills. I thought those were funny. Like I said, his texts are funny to read, but he'd talk about his knockout yum-yum to deal with it. And that's it's funny until you think about the fact that this is a man with a real substance abuse problem, like a real problem. He wants to quit. But his doctors and nurses, in the doctor notes, he was told that he needed to stay away from his fiance because they had a toxic relationship. Like, can you imagine that? I know you want to marry this woman, but you shouldn't because you have a toxic relationship. Like, that's nuts. Did the nurse remember anything? She remembered something. She didn't remember enough. You could tell, like, why, too, Hey, Sandra, thanks for the 10 there. No statement, plenty of statement. Thank you. Elizabeth, yeah, I thought about it. Hey, thanks for the 5. What breaks my heart, AH is never going to apologize and let the world know the truth. There is no chance of real justice, only a token of it. She's never going to apologize, no, Jeriel, the lawyers turn into their own clique. I remember the snob who questioned your credentials. I don't remember which one that would be. I don't have any law credentials. You know what I do have credentials on, though? I have a lot of experience in the mental health field. I have a lot of experience. I can spot a domestic abuser pretty well. I've seen enough of them. I can spot a faker. I can spot a monster. I'm pretty good at it because I've dealt with them. I've dealt with their victims. I've dealt with what they litter in their paths. And also, on top of that, I've dealt with them too. So, I'm not going to tell you about the legalese of something, but man, I can tell you about how to spot monsters and about the real damage to this. The legal field is its own battlefield, and it's a crazy battlefield at that. It is. It's a crazy one where you need some professional to guide you through it. People like Ricada, luckily, they're around, and if you need help too, he's the guy who would actually help you. So, that's good. At the same time, spotting monsters, we all come from our own backgrounds. In law, nah. I don't look at this as a case. I look at it as a study of what happens when you have a false accuser go and ransack someone's life. I think that's a very good case study of that. Maria, thanks for the 5 there and the super sticker. Appreciate that. Mic drop. Mic drop. Crushing babies with a mic drop. Thank you there. Surfer Rosa, thanks for the $44.99. I've gone down the rabbit hole and out the other end with you and Ordinary Brian. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, for myself, did the nurse commit perjury? No. Thank you for that. I think Brian, he's incredibly average. He's very good at he makes videos probably better than anyone. And there are other people that are very versed and versatile with the case. They know it. They know it in ways. I have mine, that I know about with it. Thank you for keeping up with that with us. Snuggles wants a refund. Thanks for the 2. Amber's really Hulk Hogan in Amica. Is that what Amica does? It changes your body type. Now, here's one that I thought was interesting, that they thought you had Amber Heard trying to actually weaponize this and turn it against JD. You had them saying in the nurse's notes, they wanted to use this against him. They brought it up and quickly. He had scraped and bloodied knuckles. All right. Scraped and bloodied knuckles. How did he get them, though? Because he hit a whiteboard during an argument. So they kept talking about him having scraped and bloody knuckles like that was some big thing. And they kept trying to leave out the why. He hits objects. I don't know how many I've hit objects before. Like when I get pissed off, like as a guy, maybe you ladies do this stuff too, but I know as a guy, like I don't have a lot of emotional settings. Before my kids, I probably had even less emotional settings, like I calm down easier and stuff. But as a guy, anger, it's almost pushed into you from birth, like this reaction. And people push you. A lot of people will push you. And you learn negative coping skills. Sometimes you'll break something because you're so mad. Because you don't want, you got it's got to go somewhere. Breathing just doesn't stop and other things. But boy, breaking something feels good. Maybe not in the aftermath, but it does in that moment where you just, it's cathartic for a second. You break something, you get it out of there. That's a negative coping skill, Positive coping skill, breathing. Negative coping skill, punching a wall. But you know what? It's much better than punching a human being. It's not a positive coping skill by any means, but it's not hitting a human being. You hurt yourself in there. Batgoat, thanks for the 5. Noob yourself, son. Uncle Brat, thanks for the 50. Years ago, my mother's physician prescribed a variety of drugs. The most innocent was Valium. My mother always hated taking drugs and would throw her prescriptions away. Yeah, me, like I said, I'll be honest with you. Like I developed a nasty substance addiction. Like I had it for a long time, and now I have a lot of trouble moving past it. Like I've been clean with help, but it was nasty. It was hard to let go. Like it's beastly. And you know, like my granddaddy's generation, you know, the people I grew up with were like, "You can't put that down. Psh, you weak." Maybe I am weak, but you know what? I couldn't do it on my own. It's societally. If you don't do it, you're some kind of monster. Look at what gets turned against you here. You ask for help, and what happens? You know, if you tell people societally, like forever, I wouldn't talk about it forever because I knew how people acted about that. You know, they treat you like you're some kind of piece of garbage. But you know, I don't ever want to be ashamed of who I am. Like all of me is me. The baggage, everything. That's all me, baby. You know, I'm not ashamed of that person. It all led right here, right now, talking about this. And I understand. Like when he's talking about withdrawals, oh, I get it, man. It feels like your bones are on fire. Like your muscles are sweating. I mean, it's the worst freaking feeling. It's like the way that they described the beer bug. You know, when the first discussions of it came out, and you were like, "Oh my God, that sounds like and the beer bug ain't fun, by the way. I had the beer bug; it wasn't fun, but you know, when they first described it, it sounded like you know, Captain Trips out of the stand. That's what I was like. Oh my God, it's horrible. It's a horrible ordeal. And some drugs have a longer half life. Like if you take you know, if you smoke dope, for example, the way it hangs around, you know, it takes it longer to flush out of your system. Well, other things too, you know, they take longer to break down when you're trying to get clean. Like there's some stuff that is just bad, and you suffer for it. Say, Shield, thanks for the 2 there. I'm known for punching holes in my walls when I'm mad. Yeah, see, that's a negative coping skill. It works though to calm you down. Like that one thing about that, why it's negative is because it damages your walls, hurts yourself, and in the end, you know, you can't internalize, you externalize. And again, I mean, I've broken plenty of things myself doing that. That doesn't mean you're a monster. But they want you to be, because they couldn't find her being hit, so they had to make something get hit. Carol Clark, thanks for the 10. No statement on that, but plenty of statement. Thank you. Let's see, right here. I lost my place for a second. It blurred on my side. I don't know. Let me check and see if it blurred on your side. Nope, it's still showing right. Okay, sorry about that. It blurred for a second. It's like sometimes StreamYards blurs it out. You know, it doesn't catch up, so I had to check it. So here we go. So anyway, his personal records, though, he notes. At one time, you got to remember now, when we're looking at this stuff, you know, I love when I bring this up sometimes. People are like, "You make an excuse." I'm not making an excuse for anybody. I'm just saying, you got to remember that these are somebody's notes that they're bringing up with a medical professional or a mental health professional. You tell people things in confidence, not thinking they're going to be weaponized against you later. You know? Like, I'm sure you wouldn't tell some of these stories that end up like getting thrown up in his face, but he talked about feeling trapped by his work, talked about feeling really angry at his workplace, and he talked about being verbally aggressive with a worker. He said that situation, the way that it was going, it made him feel like he was going to use drugs again. Now, they've weaponized that. That's you asking for help. You know, it's the same way a lot of people... we don't use like AA or NA as much anymore because, again, you know, that's like white knuckle sobriety. But you know, the whole idea of sponsors, right? You call up your sponsor, you tell them you're having a problem with the same thing he's doing here, but with a medical professional. He's calling them up, he's telling them what the problem is. They're taking notes on it, and those notes get used because apparently having that problem on set, needing some help, feeling like you're going to relapse again because that is your coping skill. You're having a bad day. You know, you yelled at somebody. The words that people use too, like if I use the word yell, that doesn't sound bad, right? But professionals, like if I write it down, I call it verbal abuse. All right. we don't typically, like if I make notes, I talk about you being verbally aggressive. Now, there's no sliding scale in that either. Those words sound much worse than me saying you yelled at somebody, doesn't it? But that's what it amounts to. He yelled at somebody at work. Maybe he talked down to them. And there's no like I said, there's no sliding scale for it. Like if I said physically aggressive, you don't need a sliding scale. Verbally aggressive, I mean, God, that encompasses so many actions there. And some of them are nasty. But again, what they're talking about, they're coding yelling. That's literally what that means. They were yelling. They also keep bringing up Marilyn Manson in this over and over again because they want to connect Johnny Depp to Marilyn Manson. Now, Johnny Depp, Marilyn Manson's the godfather of one of his kids, maybe all his kids. I don't know, but I know the Lily Rose, I believe, is his goddaughter. So he's connected with Manson. He's a friend of his. But Manson, this is a nasty little workaround. This is something I was trying to bring up on Rekieta stream, but I couldn't get anybody to understand because I don't think anybody understands what's going on with Manson, really. Manson, well, I mean, Rekieta does, but I don't think the other panel members, the people that were there, they really got it. Manson is being called the worst kind of monster. He's an easy target, a very easy target, because he's a weirdo. I mean that in a negative way. I mean, we're all weird. I mean, I'm a weird person, but I don't have that look or that, he built an image that was supposed to be this nasty little counterculture thing. He built this facade that at one time it was impervious to anything. If you built yourself up to be everything that was anti, then nobody could ever harm you, right? Well, nowadays you can. You get harmed with allegations. It's the easiest way to bring that down. But back in the day, you couldn't. So you know the nastiest things about himself that he could ever think of. Well, now they're trying to. Now Manson has been accused of some horrible shit. A lot of false allegations in there for sure. But I'm sure a lot of jurors have probably heard about that. The jurors that had not heard about Johnny Depp's stuff, they may have heard about Marilyn Manson. So they got them a little catch-22 workaround, because I bet you money that those lawyers didn't ask about Marilyn Manson. I bet you they didn't. Have you heard about the accusations against Marilyn Manson? No, I'm sure they didn't say that, because they wouldn't have thought how that pertained, but it just slyly snuck in there because there was a note about Marilyn Manson. It's kind of slick in that, kind of nasty. And it works. A 1373 or 1337, I said 73, 1337 Neo, thanks for the 20. Hey Tug, back in college, one of the attractions at the spring festival they had was getting to pay $1 per minute to take a bunch of blunt objects to an old beat up Bentley. Great way of blowing off steam by breaking stuff. Yeah, we used to, my friend used to have a junkyard, and we used to do the craziest stuff out there. Well, his dad owned a junkyard, and I would go out, I would work with him. I did this when I was a teenager. I got to know my friend because I got to know him really well because I actually wrecked a car. Flipped it over on its top, actually. Really interesting story. Maybe I'll tell another day. But I got to know them, and we would go out to this junkyard. We would do all kinds of crazy stuff. We'd break things, we would we go out to the state. We'd buy cars. We'd get CPR dummies and stuff, and we could beat them up too. I mean, it was goofing off and fun. But if you looked at it in a negative light, you could say all of that was terrible behavior, and it proved something about someone. Johnny Girl, thanks for the 5. Many people have addictions. Many people are violent when having the addictions. Yes, that's right. Some are. AH is violent, not JD. Everyone is different. That is very true. Well, it's just like, people without addictions are violent. Everyone's different, like you said. Now, I've met some really volatile drunks, that are nasty. Now, when they talked about JD, see, they're playing off stereotypes. They're playing off some nasty stereotypes because that's what they want to do. Now, with the nurse, she said this, and I thought this was interesting. I remember looking for Johnny Depp's finger in the downstairs area. She was just so casual about talking about hunting down his missing finger. It was so bizarre to hear, you know. Yeah, when we were in the downstairs area, I remember going down there and I remember looking for Johnny Depp's finger, because that's just normal, right? That's something we all do together. It was so strange to hear, like I said. Snuggles wants a refund. Thanks for two. Amber's really 50 Cent. You can find her in the club. Now, then she's talking about things like stories. Okay. She was asked, what do you know about when JD lost his finger? And she said, well, Amber Heard threw a bottle and chopped the finger off. That was the first thing that came out of her mouth. And the defense was like, well, blah, 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 because she couldn't say where she heard that or when she heard it. She kept saying all the time, I don't recall. But her first thing out of her mouth, and she was there. She was there hunting for his finger, was that it got chopped off that way. Now, you tell me where she heard that from. I'm sure she heard it at the scene, but she was like, I don't recall. I told you about the text. I thought that was funny. He also, what was crazy is in the aftermath, you would have Amber Heard call about Johnny Depp's finger and his pain, the pain scale. She would talk about how much pain he was in. And that was especially ironic considering you find out later that she's the reason he's missing a finger. Now, Depp said to his nurse, the majority of his issues were with his wife, were because of drug and alcohol abuse. They kept bringing this up again and again. Oh, it's drugs, it's alcohol. That caused it there. The drugs and the alcohol. I've worked with people that were abused in relationships, and they're always in denial. You've met people, we hear this about women all the time, but this happens with men as well. You've heard people that say, if only I could change this, if only I could change that, then we would have a perfect relationship, right? Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It sounds like denial. And drugs and alcohol, I mean, they do exacerbate the problems, for sure. If only I were clean, then maybe they wouldn't smack me. Now, he says again and again in these notes that using drugs and feeling anxious, he says these things, they keep coming up because of arguments with his wife. Now, the team for Amber keeps focusing on the drug part. Oh, he's admitting drug use. They're not focusing on the Amber made him anxious because arguments part, which I thought was crazy. KH, thanks for the 20. Normally, I don't care about Hollywood, but I'm interested in this because I know people who have literally put on a public chat with hundreds of people, all you have to do to shut up a guy is accuse him of rape. Yeah. I mean, so many people have said that. So many people have gone that route, telling you. Like, that's all you have to do. And it's true, You hear people again and again, and it's true. Societally, that's 100% true. Just 1 second, I got to cough. Give me 1 second, I got to cough. Woo, I had to sneeze too. I'm glad I stopped that. The weather's changing here. My sinus is nuts. Claire, thanks for the 179. Good old Debbie, don't recall. Was lying her bum off. You could tell that she remembered certain things. I didn't want to say it. Hey, this was funny too. You see his rug here at his island home? It says, "Beat it, hippie." I thought that was funny. There's just random things that you notice in there. Now, they talked about his detox and what it was like. And detox is hell. It is absolutely hell to go through. They were talking about, him experiencing muscle spasms, chills, pain. Now, imagine going through all of that. Imagine you're going through all of your withdrawals, all of that pain, only to find at the end of it that somebody is more than willing to withhold your medication, because that's something that we haven't heard yet. We had a lot that was removed in the accusation rounds of this. But there were some things that, I mean, withholding medication. Can you imagine, again, somebody, especially somebody who supposedly cares about you, you take them with you because they supposedly care about you, you know? Now, Johnny Depp, all the time, too, he kept bringing up how he wanted to give up detoxing. And the reason that he kept coming back to when he was saying he wanted to give up detoxing was the fact that she drove him to it. She was driving him to wanting to that. I mean, I was just like, wow, you know. It's just nuts, isn't it? The person that you supposedly have in your life, this person that's supposedly there as your support, they're the ones that drive you to want to do that. Johnny Depp felt she was trying to interfere with his detoxing, he said, by reporting things that were not true to his doctors. Now, that's interesting, I thought, as a statement, too. So he felt that she was lying about him to the doctors. Oh, by the way, you want to hear something fascinating? Guess who's taking the stand tomorrow? Johnny Depp. Huh. That's right. Early on, apparently he's going to go and take the stand. Christine, thanks for the $5. Most sane people would feel happy to be in the company of talented and interesting people like JD and his pals, but these a-holes wanted to destroy him. Actually, Sean Bett said about them, no, Elon won't take this stand until... that's what it's been reported. Yeah, no effing way. That's what's been reported a million times over. Nick Wallace reported from 3 independent sources. The media is reporting it as well. So we'll see again. But apparently he's scheduled for it. Apparently they're starting it. And you know his testimony may take 6 days. He may be on the stand for literally 6 days. So maybe a week plus. You know, everybody keeps looking at it like he's going to just testify and bam, bam, bam. But, I mean, it would make sense. If you got 3 weeks, you used a week, it may take a week to get Johnny Depp's statements out. You may be talking about a week of testimony. He's not going to be up there for one day, probably. He's going to be up there for days. That's what happened last time in the UK. They kept him up there for days. Because you remember, you got all of every situation, all incidents. So you're going to have to go through all of those. Plus, you're going to have to go through the other side, going through it as well. Shabaka Wookie, thanks for the 7 there. I said I'd stop being an idiot for 1 hour, but I lied. We should make Amica the new Aloha or over Roger. It would annoy her like crazy. I kill me, I tell you. No, I think it's funny. I think the Amica cream is funny. She could be like Amica Herd, you know? I think that's a funny name. People were like, Amica Turd. I was like, no, Amica Herd, because it's so strong it even cured the turd part. Snuggles wants a refund. Thanks for the 2. Amber was using drug trip to contact Yoda ET. Yeah, I could see that. She, I don't know. You know, E.T., when his finger's abused, he's like, E.T., ouch. I could see Amber beating him. Now, the nurse kept saying, like, I remember a situation. I was going to leave the penthouse, and Amber blocking and was not wanting us to leave. She kept bringing up situations like that. She brought up other ones, like, she'd bring up statements. There was another situation that she listed. Here it is. Amber Heard would try to instigate him. I remember an argument where Johnny Depp was going from room to room trying to remove himself from an argument, and she would follow him. She would always go after him, trying to instigate, trying to cause issues. Anchor Fist, thanks for the 5. The more I hear about this case, the more Amber Heard reminds me of my ex-wife. She never got that crazy, but the way she acts is nearly identical. There are a lot of people out there that feel that society has enabled people. It will enable, you have a pendulum swing too. So in the past, women, you're talking about no rights whatsoever. Now with a pendulum swing, you have it where you could just say whatever, and it also has to deal with sexual abuse. Okay, the law didn't fix anything, so people wanted this issue fixed. They felt like, like New York, for example. New York burned 600 rape kits one time. They incinerated them instead of checking them because they had a backlog and they got caught doing it. Now, instead of fixing that issue, people, when they got fed up, they created another way. They created a virtual lynch mobbing technique. And this lynch mob is very effective because all you have to do is mention something, bam, everybody gets together and there's no accountability whatsoever. Never has been before. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. Neither one is a good thing. Neither setup. JD, though, he kept talking about how he's in a no-win situation with his fiance. His nurse talked about the hopelessness and the notes that he felt, and now he took drugs to escape his relationship. That's telling. Johnny Depp's ponytail. And thanks for the 179. Football for sale. Comes with free monkey. Could you not get it to do that to the football, or could you? Yeah. Chicken DMs, JD is confirmed on the stand tomorrow, Yellow Flash says. Yeah, Nick Wallace was saying like 3 of that. Let me see. What is it, a media source telling us that? Oh, it's Deadline. And see, Deadline, who do they quote? Let me see. Deadline, here's the thing, though. Here's the problem with Deadline, okay? Deadline, they didn't even know that there was a difference between the $50 and $100 million lawsuit. So I'll take Nick Wallace, though, his answer. But Deadline, they didn't realize the difference between the claim and the counterclaim. They actually thought they were the same case in their early articles, which was funny because they'd been shilling Amber Heard for so long. You'd think they'd know the difference, but they didn't. Gene Nelson, thanks for the 5 there. Listen to the live stream on the way home from work. Now I have a DUI from the lip smacking. The one thing that kills me is the typing. Like, you hear the typing in the courthouse, and people think it's like Ricada or myself typing, while we were going. And in last week, there was one time that I forgot to mute, and I was typing. But I mute on my side. Now, I don't mute on the screen. Like if I mute on the screen, you'll be able to see it. Like up here, for example. If you, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I mute it up here, you'll see a little, well, you can't see my thing here. Let me take this off, and you could see it. Like here, you see the icon, but I don't typically do that. I actually mute on my side. I mute it on my microphone base because I could bump my computer or something and it turned off. So if I walk away, I mute both. Yeah, you can hear the breathing. That's because they have each one of the microphones on. They have the defense, they have plaintiff table. They have everybody's on. Like when Sean Bett got up there, it sounded like a freaking 747 was going to take flight. It was crazy. Snuggles wants a refund. Thanks for the 2. Rum, Amica, and rat shit. Does that not sound like a tasty blend of herbs and spices? Johnny Depp, though, he discussed many situations, or his nurse, rather, discussed many situations where they tried to flee, where he was trying to flee, where he wanted to leave. There was one where they were at a hotel. She was staying in another room, and she she got contacted by security. She goes in, and Johnny Depp, he's trying to leave, and Amber Heard's trying to block them in. This is a statement by the professionals. Listen to this. Patient was encouraged to stay away from his wife as the relationship was toxic. Professionals are telling him, yo, you need to stay away from her because that relationship is toxic. And it is. It's true. See, here's one of her discussions about that. I was staying in. Now, again, I'll cut out sentences in the middle of some of this stuff. But I was staying at a hotel. Security came and got me. Johnny wanted to leave and go to another property. She was asked this. I thought this really stood out. So she was asked, have you ever witnessed Amber Heard lose her temper? And she was quiet. It was like silence. And then more silence. And then more silence as she looked around. And then she said, I don't recall. And I thought, wow, that was really a long time. It took forever for you to say that. Now, the other side, they would come in and say things like, but your role in this was providing Johnny Depp support, not Amber Heard, right? Now, here's the kicker to that. She was also the supervisor for the person that was providing services to Amber Heard. So, even though she's assigned to Johnny Depp, she's also assigned to Amber Heard. She's making sure that her care is proper. So, that as a way to defend. That's one of the things I hate about the video depositions. Carol Clark, one message retracted. I don't know if that went through or not. If there was a message there. If not, it may have pulled it down. They're leaving out so much audio. Oh, yeah. They're leaving out just piles of stuff. Now, give me a second. I'm going to pull up Sean Bett. Sean Bett had something very fascinating. Like, Sean Bett is the guy. If you don't know who he is, he has a lot of stories. But as part of it, he's the guy who takes these photographs. Like, he's the one. So, in March 2015, he photographs Johnny Depp's face with marks on it. In December 2015, he takes multiple pictures. These pictures kind of suck, to be honest, the way that they're positioned in the courtroom, because they don't do the pictures themselves, like they're so far back in the screen. Like, I hope that they come through better on the screens in the courtroom, because I was looking at them, like, this is the way that they look screenshot. They don't do very well. Like, they're a lot better pictures than they look like right there, because we've seen them before. Sean Bett, though. Give me a second. I'm pulling this up. Give me a second. I'm going to pull it off the Recada feed, just because it's the one feed I know that won't flag us, like when we pull up something. The Sun has not been flag happy about stuff, but give me a second. Here it is. So Sean Bett was fascinating for his testimony. He gives a lot of background at first. We're going to skip over the background.
Bureaus to combat a lot of the crime that was taking place in our area.
Would have testified on so much.
Did it come to a point
now
where your employment with the Los
I'm
Angeles Sheriff's Department came to an end?
His testimony is
You had to make
very
a lot more
low,
money in
though.
private security. I said, fuck this shit.
I was
Does
in
that
a
come-
couple of.
Does that come across okay? Because it's low. Like, it is so low. Like, the sound on this stuff. Like, this is with Recada cranking it up, too. If not, we can talk about what was here. It's too low. It's still low. Or am I going to Virginia? I don't know. I'm not too low. Yeah, I mean, it's low. That's how it sounds on the thing. You know, that's the sound. But if it's coming through really, really low for you guys, drop the audio down on his end. We could probably crank it up. Natasha, thanks for the 5. She would not been named. If her medical records were not subpoenaed, she can't talk about that starlet. Their audio is bad. Actually, let's talk about what they said. It'll be easier than that. And then, I mean, you can watch it all if you want, okay? But we'll talk about the highlights of it, all right? Because Sean Bett gives a background. Sean Bett's a big name in all of this stuff. He has a background in understanding what's going on here because he was a policeman, you know. So as a policeman, he's he's encountered a lot of these things, and he ends up moonlighting basically for security for JD. That's a part-time job at first, and then over time he becomes off the top hat. Thank you. What channel was the other one? That was on, it doesn't matter. We can just talk about what's there. Will they play the audio? Maybe. Maybe they'll play the audio in there. I'm not really sure if they will or not, you know? Now, Sean Bett, at certain times, he answers to Jerry Judge. He's not the head of security. But over time, he becomes the head of security for Johnny Depp, okay? So that's something to point out. Now, he talks about JD's demeanor while drinking. And I thought that was a fascinating discussion because he said, you know, when JD's drinking alcohol, it's the same as when he was not drinking. And we've heard that many times. It takes him a lot to seem drunk. Sean Bett was saying that he goes into like a Captain Jack Sparrow mode. And, you know, I could see that. It's got to be based on something. I could see it based on himself. You know, hey, why not base that on who I am in a lot of ways? You know, the character, the character is kind of drunk all the time. So it's clear on Link, but yeah, it doesn't matter. We don't really have to, you know. He's the one who took pictures of when she said JD had ripped some of her hair out. No, that was the property manager. That was Kevin Murphy that you're thinking of. Kevin Murphy was a property manager. He had worked for JD for quite some time, and yeah, I mean he's the one who took the property photographs though. But Sean Bett, he discussed. I said the disgust. When discussing the co-conspirators, the friends, and family of that certain Aquaman starlet, he was talking about how they were towards JD. He would say, you know, JD, he was very open and warm to them. He would offer them whatever they needed or wanted. In fact, he let them, after a while, live in his print houses rent-free, and they would drive his cars. I mean, his sports cars, his nice stuff around. So, he talked about to his face, they would be nice because they were taking advantage of him. Of course, they were taking advantage of him, you know. If you're not violent when you're sober, then you won't be violent when drunk or high. But if you're violent when you're sober, well, a lot of it has to do with inhibition. Like a lot of people, you may have something in there that drives you towards that lack of inhibition. You may have something in you that it may just be a seed, but those seeds, you know, they can turn into a full pressed tree, you know, and come out in the worst ways when somebody is substance using. Now, Amber Heard, he was talking about like Amber and a lot of her quotes. He said one of the things that she said at one time was she was talking to one of her friends. Sean Bett was there, and she said, "Never trust men. All men are idiots." And that was fascinating, you know, the way that he brought it up, because it didn't sound like that's a little, you know, quib between friends. It sounded like a manipulation point, which this person is so fond of that, so fond of it. Carol Clark, thanks for the 10. I left 2 other messages after the 10 super chat. Apparently been doing it wrong. Thanks for all you do. Glad to find you via Ricada. Really enjoyed commentary on this. Well, thank you, Carol. Yeah, I've kept up this case for a long time. Again, I'm not saying that I'm the most versed on the case by any means. You know, there are people that know a lot about it as well. But I've been keeping up with it for a long time. And one of the things, like, I know the players, I know the incidents, and I've seen this develop. Like, going all the way back, what's particularly fascinating to me is going all the way back. When you go to 2016, there were only 3 accusations against JD. They had 3 incidents, as she calls them, you know. By 2020, she's developed 14. Now, to tell you how bad the UK court is, and I've mentioned this on Ricada's stream as well, there was one incident where she quite literally just gives a text message, and it's an apology. And she says because of the apology, that proves that JD had abused her. The apology there, something happened, but she didn't know what triggered it. Now, the judge in that case said, since there was no accusation, they couldn't actually flesh it out and turn it into something. But if they would have had an accusation, he would have taken it as if it was gospel. That's basically what he was saying. So the only things that he turned away from were things that were just, I mean, some of these are ridiculous. And then by, again, 2022, you have sexual violence and rape thrown into it. Violation with bottles. Again, it keeps snowballing. And you have to remember that the reason she can do that is because she's not answerable in the moment. Like the way the law works, it's very unfair. You can make all kinds of claims about somebody, all kinds of claims, and say pretty much the worst stuff ever. And, well, it's allowed under law. I mean, you're absolutely allowed to do that. So why wouldn't she make claims? Like, there's no repercussion to it, right? Why wouldn't she make the worst claims in the world? Snuggles wants a refund. Thanks for the 2. Amber and Eve use amica when grave robbing. Grave robbing. I could see them out there trying to grab a grave. But he talked about incidents, okay? He was asked, did you ever, like, hear them raise it? Now, he kept getting, what's bad is in the court, he wasn't allowed to bring up things that he had talked about with Jerry Judge. Jerry Judge, here's the problem. Jerry Judge is dead. So even though Jerry Judge would have seen quite a few things transpire, Jerry Judge, since he's no longer with us, he can't talk about what he saw, right? Jerry Judge is out of it, so, which is a damn shame, I mean, when you get down to it. But that's the reality of it. Jerry Judge, since he's out, like, we don't get anything from him there. So they get to strike a lot of statements that came from Jerry Judge. But he said, well, there was an incident. You know, I was sitting on one of the floors at the penthouse down by the pool. I was outside. I was reading a book. And he could hear shouting. He could hear her voice at a very high pitch. So he went, you know, he stood by the door because he heard that. And, you know, he's security. He's there. He's supposed to protect Johnny Depp, supposed to protect family. Well, as he listened, he heard Johnny Depp speaking with her, calming her down, consoling her, and the voices, they dissipated. So Amber Heard, again, in that story, she's the aggressor. He would also say, he said that she would say things like, he's a fat ass. F you, Sean. She threw a bottle of water at Johnny Depp. He talked about, you know, that situation and how he had to get him out of there as fast as possible. He also talked about her throwing a cup at him. And he was going to say that he also knew about her chopping off the finger. And of course, I can't do that because, you know, he didn't witness it himself. So therefore, but the stuff that he was talking about with throwing, he saw that himself. Now, this is what I found fascinating with the UK. You have all these people bring up things, again and again, and the UK judge was like, nah, none of those people matter. She's the one who mattered. Sean Bett was asked, did you ever see any injuries on Amber Heard? No. How about on Johnny Depp? Yes. Then he went into taking pictures. He said, again, in March, he had a swollen cheek, eyelid. I mean, if you look at the picture, you can see that. And he called it what appeared to be a serious injury. He said, too, the reason that he wanted to take pictures of that is you get the feeling from Sean Bett. Now, Sean Bett's an ex-police officer, right? He's there to protect Johnny Depp, but he's probably had time to deal with people like an Amber Heard, people that will make false accusations. He said he was protecting Johnny Depp in case there was an accusation about him. He was protecting him from it, and sure enough, he was right about that because of course there would be. Now, in the other three, he gave a lot of description about these three. He talked about the scratches on it, the bruising, the marks that went up to his forehead. He talked about a lot of injuries on JD, on his face, on his cheeks, and on. And again, the pictures, I think, are terrible, the way that they're presented in the courtroom. They're not bad pictures. You can find them in evidence and in other cases, but you can't see it really well there, Yeah, I know, Brian, my streams aren't showing up. I know that's a thing. Like, if you go and you search, actually, what's really bad, I'll show you at the end of this. I'll show you how YouTube treats people that cover this. It's a mess. That's why, like, some people will pull 7 and some people will pull, like, 2 or 3. It's because the platform doesn't like some of us wrong thinkers. Now, Sean Bett gets into discussing April 21st, 2016. We're going to call that the poop incident. Now, he gets shut down with quite a bit of the poop incident discussion because he didn't witness all of it. He didn't witness the night. He's half of the story. What he's leading up to the party, and then after the party, Travis McGivern actually sees what's happening. But Sean Bett tells us about how so JD has a meeting the night of Amber Heard's 29th or 30th. Hold on for 1 second. I'm going to sneeze again. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Danielle Cosin, thanks for the 5. Drugs were ruining their relationship, but not the horrific abuse. That was fine. Exactly. Snuggles wants a refund. Thanks for the 2. Amber is really Saddam Hussein after a back wax. She's been trying to look prettier in the courtroom. Like, I think that her lawyers actually talked to her about it. She's trying to be the abuse victim. She dresses in mourning colors. They harken all the way back to her abuse story that she's going to tell from 2016. But they tried her hairstyles different and everything. And I do think it's them trying to make her look prettier for the court. Her eyebrows look weird today, though. And her cheekbone implants. Her cheek implants, which this is another thing. With her bruises on her face, she denied to the nurse that she had ever had any kind of surgery, which she's obviously had, like, cheek fillers and other stuff. When you have that, it can cause bruising, like heavy bruising. So, let me see, cheek filler bruising. Like here. Let me show you something. Like, have you ever looked up cheek filler bruising? Have you ever seen it? Because I tell you, it looks just like the marks on Amber Heard. Like, I was shocked by, like, how cheek filler bruising actually looked. Okay, so these are, give me a second. These are cheek filler bruises I'm going to show you real fast. Again, she denies she's ever had any, but these are cheek filler bruises. Like, does that one look anything like you've seen anytime? That looks just like some of the marks on her face. If you look up cheek filler bruising, like, that's nuts, isn't it? Like, that's insane. Show a broken nose. Well, a broken nose, yeah. Like the swelling. All you have to do is use a little bit of common sense with a broken nose or injuries around the eyes or anything. Like if you've ever been punched in the face, it's amazing how much swelling comes from that. Anyway, so the April 2016, what happened with it? Johnny Depp has a meeting with Ed White, who is his attorney. Now, Ed White has a long meeting with him, and he ends up having to overstay. And he's then afterwards, Johnny Depp has to go to one of his other place, his home, before going to the Eastern Columbia building, which is where he and Amber are going to be. So he's late to her birthday party. Now, when he goes in, everything's okay. There's an apology to Amber. Amber seems like she's going to be all right with it, gives him a hug, and he leaves. But then he's talking about, the next day, he doesn't get to give all of the statement to it. But he says the next day he saw the injuries on JD. Now, you got to remember, at that time, JD's mother was about a month away from dying. She's in critical shape. She's been battling cancer for quite some time. She's losing that battle. So when Sean Bett is testifying to this abuse, remember, the last two incidents there, really through a lot of them, but especially through the birthday incident and then the last incident, you're talking about one incident, his mother, again, in April, is right about to die. And then May 21st, his mother's going to die right in that area. So you're talking about a couple of days off. She's about to die. So he's dealing with all of these stressors, and the support system that he's supposed to have accuses him of domestic abuse, which snowballs into rape accusations. So, yeah, that's it. That's his support system there. No wonder he wants to go back to using drugs. I mean, no wonder. DD, welcome and thank you. Also, thank you for that membership and welcome to Tugs Thugs. Appreciate that. Marianne Taylor, thanks for the 5. Laughing face there. Appreciate that. More thanks for the 2 there. Google rhinoplasty. Bruce's AH's photo was there. That's funny. Somebody put it in there. Yeah, and JD was not drunk or high during that situation. Like, that's what Sean Bett said too. He may have had a drink during that time, but not. What's up?
I'm looking for your wallet.
A wallet?
Yeah.
It's at the place that it's hidden away from. It's hidden away from friends and family, so they don't get into it.
They cut my cardigan.
Huh?
They cut my cardigan.
Again?
Mm-hmm.
What? For some reason, my wife's card, every time she goes somewhere, every 3 days, she had to get a new card. And when they put it in, they didn't put the, they give you frequent places you spend. Well, every time she goes to use it, they lock her card, like everywhere. And it's like in our little town. Like, we got this tiny town. Every time she goes somewhere to buy something, they lock her card up.
I'm taking E to Waffle House.
Okay. All right. Have fun.
Other one's in bed.
Other one's sleeping? All right, cool. Say bye. Bye. Yeah, she needed she's taking my oldest one my oldest wants to go, of all places. I hate the place, but my oldest one has been asking for Waffle House, the awful waffle. She wants some chocolate chip pancakes. I hate Waffle House. It's so gross. So it's such bad food, but she wanted it. So we're like, all right, you know, you can have it. All right, if you want to take her over there. She's been doing really, like, she's a great big sister, and she's been, she watches out for the little one all the time. She takes that care of her and does everything. So she asked, I don't know. I have trouble saying no anyway. Like, they're cute, both of them. So they're really hard to tell no, but they're both really good kids. Like the oldest one though, the 8-year-old, is so well behaved. So it's really easy to say yes when they're very well behaved. But throughout again, he says he saw these things. And then he starts discussing the May 21st incident. Okay, with the May 21st incident, he talks about how what they were doing is they were going over and they're going to retrieve some things at the penthouse. Now, there's a few things that I found really fascinating in Sean Bett's discussion of how this goes. They got Dad wrapped around the finger, yes. Is JD testifying tomorrow? Testimony tomorrow? Yeah, that's what we're hearing, you know. That is what we're hearing. He's going to testify tomorrow. All this is working its way into it. So we're going to have, of course, Sean Bett first has to finish up. He's going to be crossed, you know. So you're going to have the defense try to tear into him and ask him a bunch of questions. And then JD. Now, so Sean Bett, he tells this fascinating story. And there's a few parts of it that really don't go Amber Heard's way. So he and another bodyguard, they go over. JD goes into the house. You know, when he's inside after a little while, the bodyguards hear yelling, like very elevated, yelling and screaming. And the bodyguards, they come rushing in. Okay, when they come rushing in, you know, they have to work their way. If you've seen the security footage, or if you've seen the body cam footage, they have to enter, and then after they enter, they have to take a little, like, L-shaped turn, you know, going in. So they have to work their way around. When they go in, there's JD. He is some distance away from Amber Heard. He's not right up on her. And guess who else is in there? Raquel Pennington, her best friend. Raquel Pennington now testifies that she was paged to come and help out Amber Heard. Now, the problem with that would be that if she were paged, she would have had to come past the bodyguards. So what JD has always alleged is that Raquel Pennington was hiding in the closet or something because this was a setup. They were setting him up because they knew that he was going to leave, so they were going to set him up for blackmail. So when the guards pop in, they have Amber Heard, she's screaming profanities. You know, she's just going off on JD. She's standing with her best friend, Rocky Pennington. And as they approach, it seems to catch Amber Heard off guard. Now, Amber Heard, when she's caught off guard, she switches gears. And she says, "This is the last time you do that to me." You know, alleging abuse in that. And Johnny Depp's reply is like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, what?" So it sounds like they were already building, because if you read Raquel Pennington's statement about it, she has JD like getting up in Amber Heard's face, knocking her back, getting up in Raquel Pennington's face, like him flexing, like he's going to do something. But of course, all of them are, you know, they stand up, they puff up their chest, and, you know, applause. Woo! So stunning, so brave, which is total garbage, by the way. You know, you could tell. You could also tell, here's the thing about these folks, too. You get the distinct impression from people about how their pain tolerance is. And when you look at these people, you can tell that they live pampered lives. Like, I don't know, like if you have a high pain, I have a pretty good pain tolerance. You know, I've had some incidents where I thought, oh my God, like how did I get through that without any, you know? But I mean, I've got a pretty decent pain tolerance. But there's some people, you know, that they have like they get a hangnail, it's like I'm going to faint. I'm going to die from this. And these people, again, they live very pampered lives. You could tell about the herd, about Raquel Pennington, all these folks. So for them, to pretend that they went through all of this stuff, that they would have flexed and puffed up, and somebody was pushing out their chest at them and stuff. It's a bunch of garbage. None of that happened. They're just talking smack. Hey, Tammy Fuller, thanks for the 5. Court TV. Breaking news an hour ago states JD takes the stand tomorrow. Yeah, that's there's been a lot of people that were discussing it. Like, I don't trust Court TV to know anything. Court TV doesn't know anything about this case. They don't know anything about it, but it was set up. He's in the roster rotation for tomorrow. So, but Court TV, oof. Man, Court TV, like when they put together their flight, I can't stand Law and Crime. Law and Crime, though, is they are a network. They're one of the big networks, so they're supported by YouTube. Court TV is the same way. They're giant networks, so they're supported by YouTube. They get preferential treatment. Like if you search something, the networks get treatment first because somehow they know more than everyone else. You've seen how they cover this stuff, but that's why places like Law and Crime, they end up with, tens of thousands more oftentimes than any other streamer. But that's how the day went. You had Sean Bett carry the day out to the end. It's, again, all of JD's people. They're testifying. I thought the day went really well with Sean Bett. I thought the day went really well with the doctor. And I thought the nurse had moments where she came in. And again, these are people, the doctor, again, wasn't just JD's doctor. This was also her doctor. And her doctor is testifying there were no marks or abrasions on her. Jacqueline Nash, thanks for the 5. I think it speaks volumes that their marriage counselor didn't ask about the bruise she saw in AH. Does it imply that she didn't believe it to be from JD? Well, she also, what really bothers me, again, is she makes inference about what something means. She's a counselor, all right? Like again, a different word, but like for myself, been a therapist for a long time. Now, I don't do therapy that much anymore. I do other more behind the scenes things because really, when I worked with excuse me, I got a call from her time. When I worked with kid victims, especially, after a while, they have this thing. It's basically it's secondhand trauma. After you listen to horrible stuff all the time, unless you're a stone wall. After a while, you can't turn it off. Like it eats you up. Like it messes you up in ways that are just amazing. I would get to where like I couldn't turn my emotion off sometimes. Like it would bother me. Like I would, even thinking about it would make me like well up inside. For a while, I couldn't even, like if I talked right now, I'd have to pause and talk about it because it'd make me want to like, part of it's anger, part of it's like where you can't do anything about it. And, again, as a guy, like my settings are not, I don't have a lot of emotional settings. My setting is when somebody abuses someone, I want to go like break their legs. And I don't mean that in any braggart way. I mean, that's the way I'm wired. I'd like to bash somebody's face in with a hammer. I don't have any settings with that. And it's frustrating, but it's also horrible, and it changes your life. Like it changes your way of seeing things. You have kids, you notice more of the monsters out there. You just can't function with that. So I don't see as many clients anymore. That took me years to get over that. But what I do typically is better because I can meet with, say I can meet with 8 clients in a day. Well, if a lot of times I'm trying to figure out how to get people services. So I may get 2,000 people in a month services. So it's a lot better, So I do stuff like that. Snows wants a refund. Thanks for the 2. Amber Heard is really an Indian telemarketer in Amica. I knew someone was trying to scam me the other day. Now it all makes sense. Doris Stanley, thanks for the 5. Another sad thing about all of this is that he used to be so private with his personal life, and she's ripped that wide open with all of this on full display. Yeah, and it's not just his, I mean, it's every text, every personal thing, every indignation. Okay, like today we heard something, for example, that really bothered me to hear on display. We heard where JD had gotten mad at, I'm going to say it's Stephen Duders. Like he said something about Stephen Duders not having loyalty because he was mad about something. And he was texting with a nurse. Now he's talking to his nurse who is part of his therapy. And he's venting for a moment. That stuff is never supposed to be public. And now it goes public where he shit-talked him. Now, I've been mad at other people I really liked, and I've said shitty things about them because that's how life is. We're flawed creatures. We do stupid things sometimes, and sometimes we don't. We let our mouths walk before our minds do, and none of that should ever be public, damaging. But it is. It's the same thing like with his public persona. You had the media like taking hold and talking about the Paul Bettany text, and they talk about the text, with Isaac B, where he said like he would like her decaying corpse found in the trunk of a Honda Civic. Like that's because of personal awfulness that came up, and of course you say some terrible things because you're pissed off in the moment. Those things are not supposed to be public. They never are. Heather Painter, thanks for the 5. I think interfering with JD's detox because she wasn't sober either, and if he stopped, she would have to. I think it's a control thing. I think you see classic manipulators. Like again, her personality, it definitely works into a type of personality. I don't want to call it a flaw, but again, you have you got to think with mental health. Okay, all diagnoses say that you can't function properly in society. That's the whole point of a diagnosis. A lot of people are diagnosable. We could diagnose 75% of people, 3/4 of the population. That's because diagnoses are made to put people in a box, to categorize you. But one of the criteria to that a lot of people forget is it causes societal dysfunction. When you look at her and you look at her personality, she is the archetype for personality disorder because it causes societal dysfunction. She can't function properly around other people. Like with Johnny Depp, she wanted to own him. She wanted to keep him around all the time to the point that if you think about fatal attraction, if I can't have you, then no one will. That's kind of the same mentality, only she didn't boil his bunny, so to speak. She went in and she poisoned the well, where other people, they would think of him as some kind of monster and manipulator. And it would make people pour even harder into his private life. And also it has another side to that too. It's not just on the people that are looking at him. It's the way she's poisoned the way that he looks at other people. Because I bet you money that has damaged his ability to trust people. Not on a like friendship level. I get the feeling he's still a trusting, nice person. I've heard from many sources, good sources around, that he's the best kind of people. Like one of the things that I found, I made connection with a lot of folks trying to find out about this case. A lot of people, wanted to talk to me about it. People that had connection to JD. A lot of people would contact me about stuff. And they would tell me, I would ask them, because again, I'd want to, first of all, I've heard from people I couldn't verify stories on, and I take that with that proverbial grain of salt. But then I heard from people that I very well could establish. Some people with a lot to lose if their name came out. But you know what? They found that I covered this, and they wanted to contact. And I was surprised by some of them. I was like, holy crap, Like some of these names that came forward to speak about it, it was astounding. But they wanted to say to somebody, this needs to be fought because this guy here is not what this person is saying. They're afraid to go out, and many of them are afraid to speak on record. Or maybe some of them have spoken on record, but many people are afraid to speak on record because they're afraid of what it'll do to them. Because I mean, look at what happened to JD. Look at what happens to anyone that's, if you didn't have a giant profile, I mean, think about how, if the same people can burn that man down, what are they going to do to a person like you or me? You know, or not you or me, but people there, but at a level like just above you or me is what I mean, you know. Now, they can't touch you or me. Actually, what they'll do to you or me is they'll try to intimidate you and they'll try to break your life. The lady, you know, the person that was talking about being doxxed in the New York Post, I saw their post today, and they were talking about not being able to get anything done on that. The New York Post just walked away with doxing people and trying to ruin their lives. Amber Heard, you know, and Eve Barlow made it happen. And they got nothing done with it. They're scared of what she will do to them. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are. You know, there's also a lot of people that are. There's a lot of people that are afraid of folks like Eve Barlow, just to be honest, because these people are as crazy. They're crazy. They don't stop. They never stop. Oh, by the way, let me show you something crazy today. Okay, so that's the case coverage for the day, though. I want to show you something crazy that came up that I wasn't aware of, but somebody they brought up to me in the last few days, and I really got looking at it again, and I was thinking about it again. So give me a second. I want to bring this up. So I've talked about this crazy person that filed false police reports here, that threatened our kids. You know, they're going to make them cry by getting them taken away. Like, look at this stuff. So I had this crazy lady, like this absolutely nut job. And there's a point to this while I'm rehashing this. I want to tell you something, okay? So, you know, this person here that bragged about calling our police department. Like, this is their phone, caller ID. They told us that they called one of the departments to report that there were bodies on our property and just crazy stuff, which is nuts because they had the wrong house. It's where my granddad lives, actually. My granddad, you know, he's an old Southerner. He's crazy. He may shoot it out with the cops. It's swatting. It's an attempt at swatting is what it is. They did it publicly. They also said, you know, as far as Little Umbrella Girl or Lug, you know, they've seen her face. This is back when this is when doxing was going on. So we had these crazy people. They called Child Protective Services. They were trying to get our kids removed. You know, we had I was covering Vic Mignogna at the time. We got the lawyer representing Vic Mignogna. That would be Ty Beard. Anyone's free to ask him if you want to verify that. But we contacted Ty Beard, or I contacted Ty Beard, and I had to have him his office make contact with Child Protective Services here, because I want to make sure nothing would happen, because people were calling them in. So you have these people threatening to get our kids taken away and all kinds of craziness. Well, I found out the other day, this person's involved in a lawsuit. They were causing problems with this other crazy person that runs in their circles. And apparently they had a falling out because, you know, terrible people, well, they turn on each other. Shocker, right? Well, anyway, so in order to get out of lawsuit, and again, this is a court document here, a person came out. I've redacted most of this, but you can see the statement. They're a secretary that's speaking on behalf of this person, Vickyverse. They're telling them that I'm a secretary at the 501c3. That's a charity organization, registered charitable organization named Redacted, whose purpose is to assist individuals in need. She's been a resident at that property since January 2019. So when this person is threatening to get our kids taken away, and making false accusations. They're living in a 501c3 funded charity. You know, you could lose everything doing that. You can end up on the street because you're living in something that is provided by a charity, and you're making these kind of threats. That's crazy. Like, I'd feel bad for a person in normal situations, but what kind of a nut job you have to do to be in, your life would be in that situation. While you're living in that, you're making threats. That's weird, isn't it? Palace Mom, thanks for the 5. I'm female, heavy equipment mechanic. I work almost exclusively with men. Several disclosed to me that they were abused. Little, no help for them. Yeah, you know, there's a guy I've talked about a few times. You know, the guy who built or tried to build up domestic violence shelters throughout Canada, ended up killing himself. One of the things that he talked about in his story was he went forward to talk to the police about going somewhere, and they told him he could go somewhere, all right. He could go to anger management classes because he had to be the abuser. So that, yeah, there's no real resources for men. And men will be mocked societally. Like, just a regular guy out there will get mocked. So how do you think a guy that's hired for... that's why, again, I'm making excuses for a Will Smith, but I feel bad for a Will Smith because his relationship has broke him. He should be out of that relationship. It's poison. Johnny Depp, he's in a poison relationship. He should have been out of that thing forever. You know, again, I'm not comparing the two either, but you see men will stay into broken relationships just like women will. But the thing is, like, when men decide to flee or leave, they get nothing. Like, they're considered in the eyes of the law the perpetrator or the abuser, straight up. Josh, thanks for the 5. She's doing all of this, so when they make Johnny's biopic, she'll be a big part of it, and it's relative since she knew she would never be on his level. I mean, that's true too. Like, she became his name in all of that. I mean, it's nuts, you know. It's nuts. She became, and he said, you know, when he was talking about his legacy. So on Instagram, you remember when he talked about how, give me a second. Remember when he talked about getting removed from Warner Brothers? Here's the statement here. He talked about his legacy. Give me a minute. I'm pulling it up right now. He said, you know, here, my resolve remains strong, and I intend to prove that the allegations against me are not false. My life and career will not be defined by this moment in time. He's talking about his legacy. She has made herself his legacy. She has put her stamp on his life in a way that, again, it's fatal attraction. It is absolutely fatal attraction. You will love me, I will own you, or else I will own you a different way. But I own you, and I own you forever. That's what that means, you know? Going Nash, thanks for the 5. I'm a grad school for counseling. Not one yet, but I hope anyone would ask, especially with their history and fights, how AH received them. Yeah. Hey, love your channel. Thank you for that. First of all, hang in there. You'll get to that level. You know, it's interesting. Like, if you have the chance to hang in there all the way until you can become a psychiatrist, if you can pull it, because you know, if you can put a little bit of time in there, then you can dispense medication. I always had a fear of dispensing medication. I actually went for my schooling. I got up to the final 2 years of a PhD for ABA because I thought, you know, again, you don't have to perform. It's just a licensure portion, and I thought, you know, working and diagnosing kids, you don't have to promote any way of working with a kid, like ABA or anything else. You don't have to take any of those approaches. You take a little bit of every approach and you work with it. You never just stick to one solidified approach. But I spent all but 2 years, and then my father got sick. And when my father got sick, well, he had been sick for a while, but his insurance, like most people don't realize you have a lifetime insurance cap on your insurance there. Like your insurance, you could have more surgeries and stuff, but your insurance will cap out, right? So his insurance capped out. He had a rarefied form of cancer. He had 2 surgeries, and then he had 5 more surgeries, and his insurance capped out for life. He was done. They were like, all right, well, now you can't have any more help unless you get it from the government. So I took like every penny we had. I took like anything I had, including my time. I stopped going to school, and I put everything into it. And it actually extended 6 years. We got 6 years out of it. And I never regret that, but I never went back for those 2 years. You know, because I wasn't planning on dispensing medication anyhow. So, but I would say, if you feel that you can get away with dispensing medication, definitely do it. It puts you, like, I just never had the feel for medication. Like the little letters on there for a PhD, because the only thing I'm missing is a practicum time. And that really annoys me, because I'd have to go back and do for free what I already do for a living. Yeah. So I was like, nah, I don't really want to do that. Like PhD, like for counseling, unless you plan on doing specific things, it doesn't matter. It's like a vanity thing, and I don't have the vanity in me anymore. I'm older than that. I don't need it anymore. But if you could get into prescribing, it's better money for sure, and it's much more effective. You'll control treatment from beginning to end. Snuggles, what's the refund? Thanks for the 2. Eve Barlow is Gary Glitter. Hide your kids. Yeah, that's creepy. We need a Men Too movement. Now, we need to remember that Me Too was for everyone. Me Too wasn't a female movement. Me Too was everyone. It's Me Too. That happened to you? Well, hashtag Me Too. And in fact, when it first started out, right in those early days, you could tell that something would probably happen. But it was powerful. You had men, women, everyone was speaking together. Then the media decided to selectively focus somewhat. Then the stars got involved. When the stars got involved, they made it about Hollywood. When they hijacked that movement, then you had all of these crazy weirdos that freaking hijacked it for their own gain. Because even if some of them had a purpose with that, if they had a truth to tell, they never let go. They never relented. They never relinquished power. They held onto the reins and they held it tight. It was just crazy. But there should have been a hashtag Me Too for everybody, not just Men Too. But yeah, I mean, nowadays I guess you need that. Oh, it's just nuts, isn't it? But anyway, all right. I think we've been here for how long? Let me look. We've been here for 2 hours. I think that's pretty good. Now I'm gonna mention my comic book at the end, and then I think I'm gonna see if you guys have anything else you want to mention in there, and then we're gonna call it a day. Let me mention my book though, my sponsor. Give me a minute. Whew, man, these days are long too. I don't know how some people stream as much as they do. I've been doing real work and everything else. Well, everything else. Here we go. So check this out. We have a book, if you haven't heard about it. We are doing well. We have 1567. I thought that was kind of interesting. We are a mere $81 away from 123K, which is a crazy amount of money. The crazy thing, though, is, again, this should have belonged to an industry that didn't forget about you, right? That's you've got to remember, companies like Warner Brothers, they didn't just let this happen. They knew the truth about it. They knew the truth about this thing over a year. They just set on the truth. They told recently that they knew about it because they didn't want to go to court, but they knew about it for years. Since 2020, they knew the truth about JD. Now they control the comic industry. They are a large portion. Disney's the same thing. Disney, they unceremoniously let this guy go. Well, look at how they looked at you as a customer too. They think that you're absolute trash. They think that you're a garbage human being that doesn't need to be respected. Unless it's your money. They think that your money, that can be respected, but not you. So what you do is you close your wallet to those fools. You walk away from them. But you open it up for alternates, because you need in this. We have to have some kind of alternate platform because these people, they don't get to ruin what we love. In movies, okay, you have something out there. Comics, though, man, they own they're going to kill that medium. They already are working on it heavily. Independent creators, though, that's where it's at. So we created our own books. We're on a third book now. Our Little Umbrella series. These are family friendly. That doesn't mean they're for kids. All ages, all that does not mean for kids. It means for everybody. But everybody can enjoy it. You know, when I started creating these, I wanted to create something with my daughter. I wanted her to be part of it. So that's who the Little Umbrella Girl is. You know, that was her avatar. And that's why you have an Umbrella Guy and Umbrella Comics, because her, you know, my daughter looks at this, she thinks, oh, you know, that's me and my dad solving stuff. But for you, it's a detective, little sidekick going out and solving paranormal items. Think of Twin Peaks meets Classic Monsters. I got a new page to show you too. Actually, I was just thinking we got a brand new page on that. I want to show you real quick. It's fun stuff that if you don't think about, if you're like, I don't care about that at all, there's a charity tier in there. You know that thing we talked about that Amber Heard likes to rip off charities? Yeah. We have a charity tier. You pick up a comic to donate, we match that comic. So essentially, you buy 2 comics to donate, we'll take them over to a children's hospital ourselves. Cut out the middleman. There's nobody sucking money out of it or siphoning it. We know exactly what will be there. And if it ends up working out a lot better, then we may put up another comic into it. I mean, we'll see. But I guarantee 2 comic books out there. So I'll give something. Let me show you this. Let me show you this new page, though. Look, like we have our, like the guy that does this, S.K. Bennett, is freaking just talented as heck. Like, look, that Little Umbrella Girl, something's happening to her. She's changing. You know, we tell you, it's part of the story there. You know, something's happening. But you got the, like, look at that artwork. I love his artwork designs. You know, again, we got our monster thing on there. But, I mean, the page, it looks good. I like the mask. You get details in there. We talk about in this story, we're going to discuss, like, why the lack of face, stuff like that. So, again, if you want to support independent creators, there will be a link in the description for it, and there will be a link over there. Just like I said, check it out. We're about $81 off of yet another giant place, and we just keep rolling, and that's because of you folks. I appreciate that. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of sexy toast to see us out. Give me 1 minute. Gotta find that sexy toast. Here we go. I forgot to mention, there's a sexy toast shirt too. If you want one of those, again, any shirt out there that you decide to pick up, all that profit, it goes to charity this month. So have at it, have fun with it, pick up a little arnica cream, whatever your feel is, baby. You have a fun time with it. And man, we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Appreciate you.